The tribe of retro reviews has risen again. I apologize, we apologize that it's taken so damn long to get back to the 2006 retro. But better late than never, right, buddy?
Yes, again, thanks for the patience. I feel like the holidays kind of hit us like a truck, and I know we're saying that when we're almost at the end of January, but we talk about other wrestling on here. We were trying to stay current with the product, and there's a lot of little shows coming at us right now. And there's a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. We got Royal Rumble coming up. We have Saturday Night Event coming up. We have AEW Revolution coming up. We have a brand new partnership between WWE and TNA that was just announced. There's a lot going on in the current world of pro wrestling. But we're going to, kick back a little, turn the clock back to when we were kids and talk about what was going on in pro wrestling around that time. It's a nice way we like to look back at our childhoods. And this is a core memory show right here. I remember ordering it. It's the sequel to last year's spectacle, ECW One Night Stand 2006. And the story basically goes, last year we talked about this, but in 2005, RVD, he may just come off as the super laid-back stoner dude, but he's a very smart individual. He realized we have the IP to ECW. The Rise and Fall of ECW DVD was the highest-selling WWE DVD in history.
Still the greatest DVD, I think, the DVD documentary they've ever put out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really Rise and Fall of ECW is phenomenal.
It helped fans that didn't know what ECW was get introduced to what that was. So RVD took the idea to Vince McMahon and said, hey, we have the IP. A lot of the wrestlers would love to do it. Why don't we do a one-night stand pay-per-view and let us have, one last hurrah with the ECW guys? Vince went for it. It was a huge success, so much of a success that not only did they bring it back this year, but the brand itself got revived. It became a part of WWE. It got its own television deal on Sci-Fi. And on paper, on the surface, when I'm a 12-year-old kid looking at this, how could you not be excited for this? It's the revival of ECW. What was so great in the 90s about this promotion is coming back. If this were to happen nowadays, we should have seen the writing on the wall that this was an absolute dumpster fire from the start.
First of all, proof that Rob Van Dam has more in his vocabulary than whatever and cool. And the thing with this ECW revival, when I was like 9-10 years old, when this was on the horizon, I couldn't help but be excited. I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, I was watching like ECW freaking Path of Destruction and like freaking Hardcore Heaven on VHS, like all these compilations of the old ECW, and I'm like, I'm going to be getting this on a regular basis now. Oh, man, how naive I was.
As a kid, not really knowing what ECW was, I just knew it was super violent, super bloody, super gory, and it didn't matter to me. It was pro wrestling, and I remember how relaxed my parents really were. I just said, can I get the pay-per-view coming up? And they said, yeah, and they watched it with me and didn't even bat an eye of how much more violent. This wasn't the kid-friendly, family-friendly WWE they were showing on Mondays and Fridays. This was a new breed of extreme, as Paul Heyman called it. And to go a little bit into the background of how this came to be, this actually was the idea of one Shane McMahon, but this wasn't what his vision was. Shane and RVD had the idea of bringing ECW back, but not as a part of the main continuity with Raw and SmackDown as it would become. He wanted it to be a separate entity, and he wanted it to be aired on WWE.com exclusively. And in 2006, that's a huge deal. The internet wasn't the internet was alive, but it's not like today where, we have YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and and Twitter, and every single thing can be documented and, the immersion is broken. The internet was this nice little niche thing that they had where it could be like, nobody really watches this. Not everybody's going to be a part of this. It could just be something for people to log on and get something that's a lot grittier, a lot closer to the original ECW product. And I thought that would have been a really cool and innovative idea. But when Vince McMahon got on and he realized he could make money out of this, he got a TV deal out of it. The Sci-Fi Network wanted certain things, and it just, I know I'm jumping the gun with it, but this just snowballs and just,
oh yeah,
falls into something very, very, very terrible.
I will piggyback off of this jumping the gun here. That whole idea that you were describing, an exclusive underground feeling show that was only airing on the website with developmental stars like one CM Punk on the rise in 2006 as the face of the brand. Sounds an awful lot like what they did with NXT Black and Gold almost a decade later. It took them 3 goes, but they finally got it right with NXT Black and Gold. And this version of ECW that we are subjected to over the next 4 years or so, it's unfortunately just going to be the appetizer hour before the Blue show. That's all it was. That is all it was, because they put these ECW guys on the road, on the Sci-Fi Network, to your point, shortly after this pay-per-view with RVD as the centerpiece. And it was the precursor to the SmackDown tapings. They went on the road with the SmackDown crew.
It started off as its own thing. They were running their own ECW shows. They were even running ECW house shows. And fans were reporting that they would go to these house shows and there would be WWE merchandise for sale. There'd be John Cena shirts, Randy Orton shirts, Big Show shirts. Not a single piece of ECW merchandise was at the show. So ECW from the start was doomed to just be the little brother to WWE, the little brother to Raw, the little brother to SmackDown. And it could have been that cool little sister show that people could have gone to if they wanted an alternative. But it just, it was doomed from the start. And you even say about NXT, look how NXT started out. It started out as a reality show. It wasn't until Vince McMahon got bored of it and said, you know what, Triple H, here, do something with it. And Triple H took it. It was WWE Network exclusive. And he turned into the best goddamn thing going on at that time.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities of turning ECW into, like, an Extreme Full Sail in 2006, potentially buying the ECW arena and running exclusively in Philly, like, it's baffling what could have been. It is baffling.
We're going to talk about it more, but the crop of talent that actually signed WWE contracts to be a part of this because they thought something would have been made out of it, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, RVD being made the centerpiece, Balls Mahoney, Sabu. Even Tommy Dreamer goes on record as saying night one, he knew he made a mistake signing back with WWE.
Yep. And Tommy Dreamer was kind of booked like a joke from night one. But let's not dwell too much on the future, because this ECW One Night Stand show is one of 2006's strongest, I would say. I definitely put this in the top 3 of WWE shows of this year. Just because, again, the overall atmosphere that we get in the Hammerstein Ballroom, Paul Heyman coming out and cutting a promo to start things off, and he's basically talking about how the fans made this revival happen. Vince McMahon did not make it happen. It's better than Raw, better than SmackDown. He's just going off the cuff here, and
the optimism Paul Heyman had for this relaunch.
Yes,
and basically because Vince gave Paul Heyman the book. He let Paul Heyman be the head booker of ECW until Vince started putting his hands in the pot. Again, we'll get into that basically at the end of the 2006 retrospective, because that was basically when ECW was dead in the water.
That is a I don't want to talk about December to Dismember right now, but we'll save that. We'll save that for later. We'll save that whole mess for when we actually get to it.
I'm going to try and not be so negative during this review, because this was such a fun show. You talk about it. Were they in Hammerstein?
Hammerstein Ballroom, yep. Just like the original One Night Stand.
The awesome set, the simple entranceway. You have Joey Styles, who presumably is going to be doing solo commentary for this show.
Nope.
It just had the vibe of the ECW show. And we will say now, this card is a lot different than last year's for sure, because again, ECW is going into the WWE phase of its lifespan, and there are some very awkward matches on the show. And
dude,
it's very polarizing. It's a very good show, but you can't truly say it's an ECW WWE hybrid. And there was some good to come out of that, but there was just a whole lot of awkward. But this opening matchup, I think, set the vibe for the show perfectly. It's a rivalry that's like 10 years in the making at this point.
Something like that.
As the former color commentator from SmackDown now joining ECW, because when Paul Heyman was trying to recruit people to the ECW, he basically lit a fire under Tazz saying, You used to be a killing machine, and now you're working for Vince. Tazz gets up. He looks at Michael Cole and says, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm out of here. And he has jumped ship to ECW. On the other side, and I love this part of the feud, Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry the King Lawler, that's Tazz's opponent in this matchup. Jerry Lawler has never been shy of how much he hates ECW.
Dude.
He can't stand ECW.
That
extremely crappy wrestling. That's what Jerry Lawler said ECW stood for.
That infamous promo that Jerry Lawler cut when he was invading the ECW arena is unironically one of my favorite Jerry Lawler promos ever. Because he's there, he's in the middle of the ring, and amidst all the chaos that's going on, the Sandman's beating the crap out of somebody with a Singapore cane. Meanwhile, Jerry Lawler's sitting there like, this bingo hall ought to be built out of toilet paper, because there's nothing in it but shit!
You know, say what you want about Jerry Lawler. This man just has a natural, he's so natural at getting heat, and he is generally one of my favorite heels in the business.
Yeah.
He's in WWE. Like, you look, again, you go back to the original partnership between WWE and ECW in 96. I think Jerry Lawler's hatred was so good with ECW, he was genuinely getting heat for it.
Oh, yeah.
He left the company in 2001 because he didn't like that ECW was around. He didn't want to work with the WWE and ECW guys. And then, you know, also there was the shit going on with his wife, but we don't talk about that here nor there. But I love Jerry Lawler's promo when they were talking about ECW going to Sci-Fi, because he just randomly gets up on Raw, he gets on the mic and he says, yeah, ECW, they're going to the Sci-Fi channel. It fits on that channel. And Paul Heyman, he's like the head Martian. He is just dunking on ECW every chance he gets.
Yes.
I love this feud because it's a Raw commentator versus a SmackDown commentator. And Tazz, he's putting the straps on one more time to put the boots to Jerry Lawler's ass. And let me tell you,
dude,
the story of Tazz, he broke his neck. He couldn't wrestle anymore. He never got that farewell match. This was his opportunity to come out with, you know, with his original gear on, with the towel over his head, with that awesome theme song. This was Tazz's swan song, and the presentation could not have been better.
Survive if I let you, which was dubbed over on the network, unfortunately. It bugs the crap out of me. Jerry Lawler makes his entrance, by the way, and he catches a glimpse, stares a hole right through poor little pipsqueak Joey Styles over there, who you recall cut a vicious shoot promo on Jerry Lawler probably the month before when Joey Styles quit WWE Raw. Jerry Lawler goes over, slaps the taste out of Joey Styles on his way to the ring. And yes, Tazz, the camera cuts to Tazz after that, and he's almost on the verge of tears that Jerry Lawler slapped his friend like that. Man.
And it was so good. And again, let me remind you, Tazz can't wrestle. Tazz can't take bumps. So they get in the ring, and also complete silence since Joey Styles got taken out.
Yeah, it's not a match.
Rings,
it's not a match.
They stare each other down. Joey Styles jumps on Jerry Lawler's back. Jerry Lawler throws him to the ground. Tazz immediately locks on the Tazz mission, and Jerry Lawler taps out.
The Kanta Hajime!
The crowd popped huge for this. And I thought this just set the vibe for the pay-per-view so perfectly, and I loved how Tazz got his farewell. This was the last time he was able to get in the ring, one more Tazz mission. The fact that he was even cleared to do that is pretty, astonishing. So it was really cool. He got to gear up. He got to hear his entrance music one time.
It's not that Tazz never got physical after he broke his neck, because you remember the last One Night Stand. He put Kurt Angle in the Kanta Hajime during that big brawl.
That's right.
He never really had a proper send off match after his premature retirement. So it was a good way to send Tazz, riding off into the sunset. So
this just gets. I like this. It gets a huge. I loved it. I love the presentation of it. It set the vibe for ECW. And then my favorite part, right after the match, Joey and Tazz just kind of dust themselves off. Tazz goes up to commentary and is like, I got your back, Joey. Now let's call the rest of the show.
I got you.
Joey's commentary for the rest of the show.
Well, Joey, I got your back. Banana juice, I'll get you a big glass of banana juice. Just dust it off,
In this next match, we have the Vanilla Gorilla, Brock Lesnar. No, we don't. Also, apologies. I am not sick. I'm just getting over something. So if I cough a few times, my bad.
Dude, the only thing missing from this ECW revival was Rene Dupree. because that way Tazz could be on commentary going, I'm a French man, I'm a French tickler guy.
I don't think the ECW crowd would have loved Rene Dupree very much. And we're going to be saying that a lot about a lot of people because, like I said, if you are not a pure ECW guy, you are not welcome in the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Well, that's kind of ironic that you say that because coming up next is Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton, a match that sounds like it is on SmackDown. It's a SmackDown rivalry that is ending at an ECW show, but not really ending at an ECW show. So,
Jack, do you want to explain,
bro,
the fall from grace Kurt Angle has had at this point in his career?
These next two retro podcasts are going to break my fucking heart, especially as the avid Kurt Angle mark that I am. So what happened was
last two pay-per-views in Kurt Angle's WWE career, and you know what? You are looking at the last opponent on pay-per-view Kurt Angle's going to have.
Randy
Orton. He's going to wrestle Randy Orton again at Vengeance.
Yes. So the time for the 2006 drafts comes along. And Paul Heyman he has his roster of ECW goons. That's all well and good. He is allowed one talent from Raw and one talent from SmackDown to poach on over to ECW to kind of even things out. Kurt Angle is the SmackDown choice. Kurt Angle in 2006 with the emotional state that he's in, I'm sure saw it as a demotion. It's not the last time, somebody from Pittsburgh feels like a massive demotion in WWE, which is a whole other can of worms that we'll open up at another time. But Kurt still has unfinished business with Randy Orton, who had a massive suspension put on him. He was, this is a Randy Orton that has not grown up yet. He was getting suspended.
Randy Orton is very much in the doghouse at this point, and he's gonna be in the doghouse for the majority of 2006.
Yeah.
So if you wonder how Randy Orton went from being in the co-main event of WrestleMania down to this, and how he gets eviscerated in this match, this is why. This is WWE very much punishing him right now.
Randy Orton is walking down to the ring, and this crowd fucking hates Randy Orton. There was a point that'll live rent-free in my head where there's a kid sitting in the front row, and he punches Randy in the shoulder, and Randy just kind of brushes it off. He looks at the kid, and he looks like he's about ready to give this kid an RKO. Like, you don't reach over the guardrail and punch the wrestlers. Like, you deserve everything that's coming to you, ECW fans.
I will say, though, despite the environment and despite the very questionable booking of the show, give props to all the WWE guys, but especially Randy Orton, who was, brought up in the WWE system, kind of born with a silver spoon in his mouth when it comes to the wrestling business. He walked into the Hammerstein Ballroom, and he took it from in crowd. He handled it so well.
I think it was...
A lot of these WWE guys are walking into uncharted territory.
Yeah.
They've never performed in front of a rabid crowd like this. And, that's going to be a central theme of this show. This is a bloodthirsty crowd.
Randy...
They are not going to pull any punches. They're not going to sugarcoat anything.
The chants that this match got, there were loud "fuck you Orton" chants. There was one point where the fans were chanting "go fuck Cena" at Randy Orton, and I'm like, fucking hell. Randy...
with a couple of exceptions like Tazz, kind of Rey Mysterio, and maybe one other person, and especially RVD, if you are a WWE born and bred superstar, they do not like you. They do not.
Kurt Angle is a born and bred WWE superstar, but they were cheering the fuck out of Kurt Angle, weren't they?
Which is very ironic. Kurt Angle is at this point in his career, because if you recall, before he joined WWE, he recalls going to an ECW house show. And
I was going to talk about this.
Mortified because he saw the crucifixion of Tommy Dreamer on that show.
It was a Sandman.
Oh, it was a Sandman?
Yeah, Raven crucified the Sandman, and then Kurt was like, hey, listen, you better not have me on your show, Paul, otherwise you're going to hear from my lawyer. It's
Kurt Angle, being the very, very Christian man that he is, was absolutely mortified and wanted nothing to do with this barbaric product that they were showing in Philadelphia. It's a great story.
Yeah, Kurt Angle.
And here he is fitting in ECW like a glove.
And he's calling ECW his home. Bullshit. Kurt Angle is as anti-ECW as it gets. But yet...
You could tell at this point in his career, and considering he's on his way out, Kurt Angle was very much wrestling with like he had a chip on his shoulder.
Don't remind me. Kurt's on his way out, but anyway,
Angle was wrestling this match like he had a chip on his shoulder, and he was taking so many liberties with Randy Orton. They get into this pretty good chain wrestling segment in the beginning of the match where Angle just flips Orton onto his belly, and he just starts slapping the dog shit out of his head. And he does this like 2 or 3 times. And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Vince told Angle to go out there and like show this kid a lesson. I want you to publicly embarrass this guy.
Could you imagine this? Could you imagine this Kurt Angle after he left the WWE defecting over to Ultimate Fighting Championship instead of TNA?
Oh, I mean, very much so.
Like
very much
in an alternate universe, I feel like Kurt would have done very well inside the octagon. This Kurt, but
yeah.
I also thought, like, before we continue, I thought it was very funny that Randy Orton got his pyro inside the ring while he did the pose, and Joey Styles fucking hated this. He was like, "This is an ECW show. How do we have the money for pyro?"
Yeah, like, he goes, "Fireworks? We don't do fireworks at ECW." And I think it just added to, again, Randy Orton very good at getting heat in this match. I thought he handled it very well. And you know what? For what it was worth, I thought this was a fine match.
It was solid. Yeah, it was certainly solid. I put it in the 3-star range. I thought there were a bit too many early Randy Orton career chin locks for my liking. It wasn't as exciting as I would have liked a Randy Orton versus Kurt Angle one-on-one match to be. And I do remember enjoying it more as a kid than I did at 28 years old. There were loud break his ankle chants. Anytime Kurt Angle tried to get the ankle lock on Orton, Orton would roll out of the ring early on, for example. The crowd would start chanting, "Pussy, pussy," because he didn't want his ankle to get broken. You know?
Randy Orton was put through the ringer in this match, and I thought he handled it very well. Considering he's 4 years into his career. Could you imagine putting a 2024 Randy Orton in this environment? He would thrive.
Yes, he would.
If they booed him, he'd probably put his fingers up to his ear. He'd probably do a jerk-off motion. He'd probably go and hit on one of the ladies in the crowd. He would have been eating this shit up.
Well, then again, I feel like a 2024 Randy Orton would have gotten cheered and the crowd would have been singing his song at that point.
That's fair.
So the match is pretty solid. Angle does have a pretty effective comeback, I think. The ankle lock is put on not once but twice. I don't know. I don't remember. Did Orton kick out of the angle slam? I'm not looking at the rundown right now. But anyway, I do remember that Angle put the grapevine ankle lock on. Orton does not hit an RKO at any point in this match. But you said it before, Tomas. Once Kurt Angle puts that grapevine on, if you're in an ankle lock, that's it. Game over. There's no getting out of that hold. And Randy taps out like a little bitch, and Kurt Angle beats him in a pretty solid 15-minute match. Again, I would probably put it in a 3-star range. Not as great as I remembered it as a kid, but still fine enough.
It was fine because Kurt Angle made it fine, and I think Randy Orton sold and bumped beautifully for this match, considering he was in the environment that he was in. I also this is one thing I really like about ECW, and it's going to be a major turnoff in this new era. Remember, in ECW, disqualifications don't even exist. Countouts don't even exist. But even then, you didn't see any weapons in this match. You didn't see any low blows. You didn't see any interference. It's proof that you can still have a wrestling match in the confines of ECW.
Yeah.
Without those even being a factor.
Well, I mean, like, you think back to the old school ECW and you had clinics like Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko, 2 out of 3 falls. I don't remember there being any sort of cheating or weapons of any use in that match. You had Chris Benoit in the old ECW putting on wrestling clinics. You had Chris Jericho as the television champion for a while putting on some clinics. It wasn't all about hardcore all the time.
Yeah.
They also respected the art of what professional wrestling is supposed to be. And they had technical wizards on their roster to really showcase that.
And the cherry on top of this match is Kurt Angle leaves, and then Randy Orton, he gets helped out of the ring, and he gets booed out of the building. And the look on Randy Orton's face is just like, why do you guys hate me so much?
The fans are chanting, "You tapped out" at him, which is a chant that I sorely miss. Anytime a heel gets beaten by submission, you should be chanting, "You tapped out" at him. Like, That's
it's a
what
good
should
way
happen.
to get the babyface over, because I always think of Chris Benoit making Brock Lesnar tap out of Survivor Series 2003.
Yes.
And I put over Benoit huge because, Lesnar, you tapped out to this little fucking dude. That makes you look like a little bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Lesnar was tapping out to a lot of people in 2003, wasn't he? Don't ever really see that anymore. Anyhow,
up next, we have a fun little bonus match. And this is one of the only pure ECW matches on the card, and that's crazy that I say that.
Hold on, Tomas. You're telling me this is a match that is not what I paid for? This is a bonus match? Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, I mean,
More
this was
for your dollar.
Yeah. Looking at this match, it was actually pretty good. Like, it's a good value here.
The original full-blooded Italians, and that's Little Guido and Tony Mamaluke, better known as a Nunzio in WWE, with Big Guido taking on Yoshihiro Tajiri and Super Crazy. What a homecoming for these guys. If you know your ECW, Tajiri and Super Crazy are known for having some of the best matches in ECW history. Yeah. They are the kings of the three-way dance. A three-way dance in ECW is a triple threat, but it's elimination style. And it was so cool that they mentioned on commentary that Tajiri and Super Crazy were foes for all these years, and now they're coming together for a tag team. It was really cool. Yeah. And this was actually a really fun match.
Yeah, fans were chanting welcome back at Tajiri because Tajiri was gone from WWE by this point, and he did not sign a full-time contract to come back to the ECW brand. Smart man. Super Crazy is also, full-time on SmackDown. The F.B.I. are the ECW guys.
Yeah. Tajiri is a very smart man because not only did he not resign here, he was supposed to come back to WWE when they brought back the Cruiserweight division. He got one injury and said, no, this isn't worth it. I'm out of here. Smart man. Yeah.
This is a very, very smart man. You want to talk about vicious crowd chants? This crowd is filled with racists as well because they were chanting Nacho Libre at Super Crazy because the movie with Jack Black came out around this time.
I mean, it's still the greatest wrestling movie of all time.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Fuck you.
Is.
Fuck you. The Iron Claw and the Wrestler both have something to say about that.
They're both great movies, but Nacho Libre, cinematic masterpiece.
No.
Get that corn out of my face.
No, his romantic interest is a headbanger. It can't be, it can't be. It can't be the greatest wrestling movie of all time. But in any case, yeah, really solid cruiserweight wrestling here. Like, all the way across the board. All four guys were on top of it. Even Nunzio, who I've never really been the biggest fan of in ring-wise, he was great in this match. Like, objectively, he was really, really good.
And I think my favorite sequence of the match, it's again, like, there's no disqualifications in ECW, and they take great advantage of that, because Big Guido does get involved at this point, but both Tajiri and Super Crazy with their tandem offense are able to get rid of Big Guido without him laying a hand on either of them. Like, I think he goes for a double choke slam, and they both counter it. He goes for a double clothesline, and they double drop kick him out of the ring. It was fast. It was furious. It was really fun.
There was a double tarantula spot as well, and I never thought I would see Super Crazy attempt a tarantula. That's an awesome, again, stolen ECW, finishers.
The only place where Tajiri can legally do a tarantula.
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
As cool as the tarantula was, I never understood it because I'm like, you can't win a match with a tarantula. It's a move in the ropes.
Yep.
You can hold it on for 4 seconds, maybe.
It's a move that is already a rope break for his opponent.
Yeah. Like 2 moves as a kid I never understood. The tarantula and Shattered Dreams. That's a kick to the nuts.
Why don't you understand Shattered Dreams?
Because how Goldust could not perform that move without distracting the referee. It's a kick to the nuts.
He always found a way. Didn't he? But
I feel bad for anyone who had to take Shattered Dreams because you are completely exposed when he does that move.
Looking at you, Maven. Hope you're doing okay after Shattered Dreams. But anyway, the F.B.I. actually does end up winning this match after a really solid 12 minutes of cruiserweight wrestling. They hit a really nice Fisherman's Buster on Tajiri, a double Fisherman's Buster.
And just when you think, oh, this is just a fun ECW match for the ECW crowd. No, time to bury all these guys. Because out comes the Big Show, the newest ECW superstar.
Well, it's the Big Show.
He cleans house.
Yep.
This is so funny because he walks up to Big Guido and he just kicks him in the balls, throws him out of the ring. He choke slams the FBI, and then he takes poor Super Crazy and introduces his new finishing move, the Cobra Clutch Backbreaker. He puts Crazy in the Cobra Clutch, he lifts him up, slams him on his knee, and like this guy is a child, swings him out of the ring.
I have him doing that to Mama Luke, not Super Crazy.
Oh, to Mama Luke? Oh, okay, thank you.
So
but he just, my God, the way he just flung Mama Luke out of the ring.
And once again, not a homegrown ECW talent. Ironically enough, Big Show is homegrown in WCW, ECW's sworn enemy with Eric Bischoff at the helm. And this crowd is cheering the Big Show. What a difference 3 months will make, because they are in this same venue for an episode of ECW on Sci-Fi. Big Show is defending the ECW championship against Batista. And you hear chants like, "You both suck," "Same old shit," and my favorite chant, "Change the channel." Change the channel during a Big Show Batista match.
We are about to enter the most polarizing saga of Big Show's career, because he's moving over to ECW and he's going to become more relevant than he's been in the past 4 years. And we're going to dive well into that by SummerSlam.
So
no, Great American Bash.
The Big Show, the Big Show did this spot kind of similarly to how they would push 911 back in the original ECW, but they didn't sign 911. They didn't have access to 911. Which is very concerning, because what happens if an emergency occurs? You don't have access to 911. Big Show cleans house. I mean, the match itself was fun. Again, 3-star range. I enjoyed it. It was a lot better than I remembered it. I completely forgot that this Big Show attack happened afterwards.
It was the introduction to Big Show in ECW, and it's going to get very polarizing in the next couple months.
Oh, speaking of polarizing, before we get to this next match, for the second year in a row, from one of the balconies in the Hammerstein Ballroom, we get a scathing promo from one John Bradshaw Layfield. And this is a JBL that has hit rock bottom at this point in his life. JBL Bradshaw in real life was having some kidney issues, so that's why he was forced into a premature first retirement. Excuse me. Rey Mysterio beat him in a loser leaves SmackDown match or something like that with the title on the line. JBL was forced out of SmackDown as an active wrestler. So here he is coming to the Hammerstein Ballroom again.
It was just JBL saying, "If I don't win the world championship, I quit."
Some along those lines.
And you know what? I love this promo so much.
It was awesome.
Dogging on the crowd. And my favorite line, they are chanting that JBL likes to participate in very promiscuous activity.
Yes.
And JBL says, "I am standing here in a crowd and all I see are a bunch of men, and you are chanting about a male organism. Who's the fruit booty now?" And you know what? JBL got one. He got one over the ECW crowd. A male organ, I should say.
Last year at ECW One Night Stand, JBL bloodied up the Blue Meanie. Like, absolutely brutalizes this poor man in the ring. And he is gloating about that now. And the crowd is starting to tell him to shut the fuck up. They want to get the show on the road. They want to get to this World Heavyweight Championship contest. JBL basically is saying that he is the king of hardcore, which would make sense. He's in the double digits when it comes to hardcore championship reigns. So he definitely has a claim to that crown.
JBL knew exactly how to get under the skin of these ECW fans, and he's using this segment to announce he's going to be the new voice of SmackDown, because we're going to enter the era of JBL being color commentary on SmackDown, which again is very polarizing.
Dude.
The first year, he is insufferable.
He is unhinged.
I loved how passionate he was on commentary, but he is so goddamn insufferable. It would take a couple of tries until he finally gets comfortable. As we were recording this, JBL is actually doing color commentary on Raw because Pat McAfee is unavailable. So how fitting it is. We're talking about the beginning of this era. And you could say it's very cheap that WWE is using ECW pay-per-view to announce that JBL is going to be on commentary. But look at the JBL character. Where else should he make this announcement? He should make it in front of a crowd that absolutely hates his guts.
Exactly.
Just so about who cares about ECW? I'm going to be commentary on SmackDown.
Yeah, and I feel like
loved it.
I feel like we're going to get into a fair amount of disagreements, especially when it comes to the SmackDown pay-per-views, because that first year of JBL on commentary, yeah, some of the shit he said was unhinged. It might have been insufferable. It's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine as a JBL fan.
It's wild. It's very, very...
Some of the... especially when we get to talk about the Great American Bash, some of the stuff he says is fucking out there, man.
You talk about your heel sympathizers when it comes to commentary. You talk about your Bobby Heenans. You talk about your Jerry Lawlers. JBL takes that to the next level when he's on commentary.
Mm-hmm. He really does. He really does. But a phenomenal promo here from JBL. Again, like one of the better heel promos that we had in the Ruthless Aggression era. You know, he knew how to get heat. He really knew how to get these people to hate him. So, very effective. So, this is actually a really good segue into our next contest. For SmackDown's World Heavyweight Championship, it is Rey Mysterio in the midst of what I still think is the worst world title reign of all time. And he is defending against the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, death-defying Sabu. What's so genocidal about Sabu?
Let me get this straight. He wants to kill himself. He wants to kill other people. He wants to kill a specific group of people. This man should not be cheered. This man should not be a wrestler. He should be in prison.
Well,
not only to society, but to himself.
Well, I mean, this guy, with his tendencies, he could also run to be the president and still do a pretty, good job with getting voters on his side. But anyway, not going to get into that. But
this crowd is very polarizing towards Rey Mysterio because Rey did spend a hot minute in ECW.
He did.
He got his wheels going there before he went to WCW. He has ECW on the back of his mask. He is very respectful to ECW. He calls ECW his home. But the fans don't see that. They see a traitor. They see a guy that started off on ECW, but then he went to WWE and became the poster boy for WWE.
They boo him.
Don't really like that.
They boo him when he attempts the 619, his finishing maneuver.
Anything that is WWE related, these fans do not like at all. There's a big portion of the crowd that respects Rey Mysterio, but there's an even bigger portion of the crowd that can't stand Rey Mysterio in in WWE. They can't stand the 619. They can't stand that he's holding the WWE World Championship, which is ironic because that's the WCW World Championship.
It's the big gold belt.
It's very polarizing. It's probably the most heat Rey's going to get in his career until 2014.
Yeah, but this match was fucking violent, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. And I like this match a lot, and I wish I could say it was one of the matches of the night, but the booking if Rey Mysterio and Sabu is a good meal, the booking is a fucking cockroach you find when you're halfway through eating.
Yep, ain't that the truth? So these guys,
big, long, disgusting hair you find in it. It's just
they start off jousting with steel chairs, which is always a fun visual, leading to some fun sounds.
Sabu looks scary. Like he's holding a steel chair, and you could have swore he was holding like a knife or something. Rey didn't want to get anywhere near him, and he grabs a chair in self-defense. Like, Sabu with a chair is very dangerous.
Who knew the homicidal maniac is about to kill somebody with a steel chair?
Yeah.
Like it's
he's
in his
kill
nickname.
Rey. He's going to kill a specific group of people, and then he's going to kill himself.
Oh, I thought you were about to say something else, but anyway, starting off with Rey Mysterio, yeah, that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But these two, there's an Arabian facebuster from Sabu for a near fall. Sabu, he takes a spot. He goes through a table, seated senton splash from Rey Mysterio, which was a sick visual. Sabu, either he was actually hurt and he actually pulled his left shoulder out of the socket, or he was doing an excellent job at selling. I'm going to go with the latter because Sabu kept going. Even though Nick Patrick, who is the referee of this match, who the crowd absolutely hated as well, even though Nick Patrick prematurely held the X up like this, and you don't do that. You don't do that unless it's a shoot injury.
And they brought this up on commentary. They didn't like that it was a SmackDown referee reffing this World Championship match. They thought Nick Patrick was going to be biased towards Rey Mysterio.
And they thought correctly. Sabu throws a steel chair at Rey Mysterio's head, which cannot have been comfy. That is also one of the most satisfying things you can do in a wrestling video game is throwing a weapon. It's so much fun. I would
And
recommend
the way
it.
it connects with Ray's head is that the opening of the chair just like fits perfectly. Like, you know, when like someone's going to get pilmanized, it doesn't
Yes.
bounce off his head. He just throws and it just fits perfectly around Ray's neck. Like,
This-
give Ray credit. He took a lot of bumps in this match.
Including this finish, which I have so many fucking issues with.
Oh, there's a
Go
table
ahead.
set up between the barricade and the ring apron. And in the Hammerstein Ballroom, there's not a lot of room in between
No.
the barricade and the ring.
That's what
So
allowed them to bridge the table that way.
It's very tight and it's very snug. And Ray is on this table, and Sabu runs through the ropes, does a springboard into a DDT through the table, absolutely
Jesus.
annihilating Rey Mysterio's neck.
As the crowd in the Hammerstein Ballroom would say, Sabu, you killed Ray. You killed Ray. You killed Ray.
Amazing spot for the middle of this match. The referees come out. The ringside doc comes to him. He looks at both of them. He looks at the ref and says, these men can no longer compete. This match worked. And the crowd is pissed. Rightfully so.
They start chanting bullshit at the finish, and they're absolutely right. An ECW match should never end in a no contest, especially, you know, like, even if somebody was brutally injured. Like, it's not like Rey Mysterio was, like, gushing blood out of his head, you know? Like, it's not
It was
like...
a devastating spot for sure. But this is where the WWE ECW issues start. As soon as this pay-per-view, WWE very much wanted to turn ECW into their own product. And this is just not how ECW is booked. And on top of all of that, WWE really booked themselves into a corner with this match. They wanted the World Championship on the show. They wanted Rey Mysterio to wrestle the show. But what do? They weren't going to put the world title on Sabu, that's for sure.
No.
But they were going to cater to Paul Heyman and not have one of the ECW originals get pinned by a WWE guy. So what do you do in this scenario?
They didn't want Sabu to get pinned. Like,
No.
You know, they also didn't want to take the world title off Rey Mysterio just yet, even though Vince McMahon was very against the idea of a cruiserweight holding one of his world titles. But
And on top of that, to put it on an ECW guy, they weren't going to do that.
No. So, yeah, so even though I give both men credit for trying with the time that they got, which I think was like only 9 minutes, it was very fast-paced, it was very physical. I'll give Rey Mysterio especially credit for being so willing to go through that insane ending spot. Yeah, it's something that WWE would never do these days. Never, ever. So
it's just a shame because this was on its way to being such a good match, and then the booking just crapped all over it, and it's just the very beginning of the issues ECW, WWE would have. And it's not really a point. No, I'm just going to bring up the point now, even though we're halfway through this pay-per-view, and we're on to some really good stuff. When ECW kicks off on WWE, there's fucking disqualifications. And the way they justify this is the only time it's truly ECW is if it's an Extreme Rules match. So if it's not announced as an Extreme Rules match, it's a straight up WWE style match with countouts and disqualifications, and it's just absolutely watered down.
that's a problem.
What
That's a
ECW
problem.
was built off of was being a hardcore promotion with good professional wrestling in there. Indeed, like, you don't need disqualifications and countouts to have a good wrestling match.
Mm-mm.
You know, you talked about the Eddies and the Rays and the Benoits and the Malenkos and the Jerichos and the Tanakas and the Mike Awesomes. There are some matches where none of those guys touched, even looked at a weapon, and there were still no disqualifications or countouts in those matches.
Yeah, and some of these ECW title matches we're going to be talking about on some of these pay-per-views over the next few years, some of them end in disqualification. And that is going to really fucking bug me. So put a pin in this, put a pin in this comment, put a pin in this podcast for later. Mark my words. Anytime there's an ECW title match from this point forward that ends in disqualification, I will be fucking livid. I will be absolutely livid.
This match was just a bad omen of things to come.
Yeah.
When it came to ECW and WWE.
That being said, I liked the match for what it was. I'm going to go 2 3/4 stars, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's the most I can give it. Because I
Yeah.
did like the whole premise of the match. It just shouldn't have ended the way it did.
Valiant effort from both competitors, but just marred by shitty booking. This next match, on the other hand, is the best thing we're going to talk about all show.
This is the match of the night. There are a couple matches on the show you should go out of your way to watch, but if there's anything you watch on the show, it's this match right here.
Yes.
Edge and Mick Foley versus Terry Funk and Tommy Dreamer. And the way this is a very, very, the way they got to this match is so weird, but so interesting at the same time. Mick Foley and Edge have been at each other's throats since WrestleMania. Foley costing Edge the WWE Championship. Edge putting Foley through a flaming table. Edge failing getting the WWE Championship back. And just when you think Edge and Foley are going to reignite their feud, Edge is waging war against ECW. He actually faces Tommy Dreamer in a match, and when Foley comes out to stop it, he attacks Tommy Dreamer. And he hands Edge the baseball bat wrapped with barbed wire. And you could have sworn hell froze over, cats and dogs living with each other, mass hysteria. Edge and Foley are on the same page now.
Yeah, CM Punk has returned to WWE. I'm pretty sure I became a monkey's uncle. Hell has just frozen over.
Yeah, WWE and TNA are working together now. It's wow.
Right. The irony. And Mick Foley and Edge dubbed themselves co-hardcore champions. Mick Foley actually brings the hardcore championship belt out of the dumpster that it was sitting in somewhere, hands it off to Edge, and they both deem themselves, they're both the champion because they put on the greatest hardcore match of all time at WrestleMania. To some people.
So Mick Foley as a heel, I do not like. I don't think Foley should ever be a heel. I know back in the day he was good at it, but hold on, let me finish up before I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
It just felt very strange, very forced for this feud to have Foley as a heel. And in the build to this match, that brings in Terry Funk. Because, Foley and Funk have waged war in ECW over the years.
Funk was Foley's mentor.
Yeah. And Funk, to say Funk was disappointed in Foley is an understatement. And that's when he issues the challenge for One Night Stand. But I will say there are some moments, some flashes in this feud where Foley cuts some really good heel promos. So,
I know what you're saying as someone who has met Mick Foley in the past. He is a wholesome living creature, and seeing him as a heel is very bizarre. But you know what? People were also saying the same thing about Sami Zayn in 2017, weren't they? And look how effective of a heel Sami Zayn was, even though Sami Zayn, a lot like Mick Foley, is a very wholesome creature.
I just think the heel turn for Foley here was very forced just for this feud, because as we talk about Foley in the next couple of pay-per-views, they don't really know what else to do with a heel Mick Foley.
Nope, except to feud him with a babyface Ric Flair, who ironically is a much more effective heel.
Now, if Mick Foley was not a full-time wrestler like he was in 2006, or semi-full-time, like if he was just coming in for this feud, then yeah, sure, turn him heel. He's not going to be on Raw the next night anyway. It's the fact that they turned him heel and they tried to keep going with it, and it wasn't working after this. So it only worked in this instance.
Totally. And to your point, the promo Mick cuts before the match is actually pretty funny. So he walks out there into the Hammerstein Ballroom, and he has a really nice shiner on his right eye as he's walking out. And he says, as the crowd is chanting, "You sold out" at him, and Foley looks out and he's like, "You're right. I did sell out. I sold out Madison Square Garden. Have a nice day." Something like that. And he's also, he said he's sorry for trashing ECW because he loves it when it was run by a true creative genius and a visionary. Let's give a round of applause to Stephanie McMahon. Long live the Alliance!
Talk about that, and that made me spit my drink out. That was good.
It was so funny. That's so funny. Like, as bad as the invasion angle might have been for a lot of people, I enjoyed it growing up. I'm sorry, but I can objectively say that the invasion was not as good as I remembered it.
Foley really is just he's a genius. He knows how to work the crowd.
Oh yeah. He probably knows how much everybody hated the invasion angle in that arena, so he decided to bring back the loose baggage. Then he
But
introduced.
oh, how the plot thickens. When
Yes.
Edge comes out, he comes out with Lita. Terry Funk and Tommy Dreamer make their entrance, but they're not alone. Tommy Dreamer's wife, Beulah McGillicutty, is with them. And I liked this, but at the same time, they kind of buried the lead with this because Lita mentions in her promo how Beulah is here and she wants to slap the shit out of that whore. And they kind of like gave away what they were going to do. But as a kid, I was still very surprised by this because Beulah gets on the mic and says, well, Lita, since you're here and you want to fight so bad, why don't we turn this into a 6-person tag? So it is now a 6-person tag, Edge, Foley, and Lita versus Funk, Dreamer, and Beulah.
Yep. 6-person intergender tag team contest here all of a sudden. And the fans are chanting some pretty offensive shit at Lita. I get it. You hate Lita because she's a heel, but classy. That's the word I cannot use to describe these chants. Absolutely not.
I will say, though, when you want to talk about WWE people that thrive in the ECW environment, Edge and Lita.
Yes.
They thrived in this environment.
Big time, which is ironic because by the end of the show, Edge would be the most over babyface in the Hammerstein Ballroom. But with that said, this is a fucking violent affair. This is everything that I'm sure people loved about the original ECW, which honestly should make sense in a hardcore situation like this when you have both Mick Foley and Terry Funk in the ring. Of course you're going to get a violent fucking match.
I love this match.
It was
this
so
match
good.
Had everything. It had violence. It had storytelling. It had passion. It was. I loved this match as a kid, but I rewatched it and all the nostalgia came back through my veins, and I got a little choked up watching this match because this was truly embodied what ECW truly was. And it's not just about blood and gore and weapons. It was the story these guys were telling. Because what was the story with Tommy Dreamer? When I watched all those ECW pay-per-views, he was the most lovable loser on the planet. He would go through hell. Like when he fought Raven, like that man put him through hell. And all you wanted to see was Tommy Dreamer finally get the comeuppance, finally get his flowers and get the victory. But he never did. But you always cheer for Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer, by no means, is the best professional wrestler. He has the body of a melted candle, and he'll tell you that himself. But when it came to ECW, name a better storyteller.
You can't. You really can't, man. There was barbed wire used very early on. There was a barbed wire piece of plywood that was dropped on both baby faces, and Terry Funk's arm is just caught in the barbed wire, and the referee has to use wire cutters to free him.
Oh, Funk's selling was phenomenal in this match.
It was. I'm convinced not a lot of that was selling, dude. Because look at how fucking violent this thing was. I mean, if my arm was caught in a barbed wire thing like that, I'd probably react the same way Terry Funk was.
Yeah.
It's true.
And then Foley pulls out Mr. Socko. And of course, the fans boo because they don't like Socko. That's a WWE thing. But then he takes out barbed wire and wraps barbed wire around Socko. And he applies it to Dreamer, but then he applies it to Beulah. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch. Like, you get your hands off of Beulah. She is wholesome. The world does not deserve her, and we need to protect her at all costs.
Well, this came after Terry Funk was briefly written out of the match when Mick Foley cut him open the hard way with some barbed wire before he put it on Mr. Socko. Terry Funk had to be taken to the back briefly. The crowd was chanting, "We want Sandman" to come out and replace him. That wasn't going to happen because, may his soul rest in peace, Terry Funk was one crazy badass.
So this visual right here is engraved in my mind forever. And this is the spot that got me choked up because Dreamer is trying to fight off Edge and Foley 2-on-1. And then you see the crowd getting very excited. They look off into the horizon and you see Terry Funk bloodied on the head with a gigantic bandage wrapped around his eye. And he's carrying a 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire to the ring. Like he's a valiant warrior returning to battle.
No,
it is
not a
visual.
Not a valiant warrior, a freaking cowboy.
Yes.
You know, like as Cody Rhodes described him about a year and a half ago when Terry Funk passed away on that on that tribute show. Yeah, Terry Funk had the right to call himself a cowboy in the locker room. You know, calling Cody's dad an egg-sucking dog, doing all this crazy shit, like coming out with a bandage over his, like, half of his face, and he has a barbed wire 2x4 in his hand. The crowd was also chanting, "We want fire," throughout a good majority of this match because they're sick fucks. You know, bloodthirsty crowd, man. And Terry Funk listens to what the people want. He lights the 2x4 on fire. He attacks Mick Foley in the midsection, hits him in the back, and you see a little spark of a flame on Foley's lower back. And Joey Styles is freaking the fuck out at this point. Because he's like, oh my god, he's on fire! And then he has to go through a table to put the flame out. It's... God.
A table with barbed wire on it.
Yeah.
This match is absolutely crazy.
It's nuts. It is nuts, man. Tommy Dreamer with a tribute to one of his greatest rivals, Raven, by hitting an even flow DDT on Edge inside the ring. Dreamer barbed wire wrapped around Edge's head and neck. It looks like he's about to like hang him or something with the barbed wire. Lita then saves Edge. Beulah McGillicutty comes in, and what does Joey Styles yell out? Take it away.
Can't fight! Can't fight! Can't fight!
It's one of Joey Styles' signature calls, isn't it?
Yeah,
one of his catchphrases.
Edge hits the Edge-O-Matic on Dreamer with barbed wire wrapped around his face. Ow.
Dude, after Tommy Dreamer hit a Death Valley driver on Lita.
Yeah.
Lita's a fucking badass, man.
That was a sick spot right there.
It sure was.
After that, the finish of this match just leaves me in tears. Because, oh no, there's one more spot I forgot to talk about. This is way early in the match, but it's strange, but I get it. They have Beulah cornered, and let me ask you something. Have you ever seen Edge perform a pump handle slam?
It's a good segue into this finish, but yeah, it's the lewdest pump handle slam you'll ever see in your life.
So he goes for the pump handle slam on Beulah, which doesn't make any sense because Edge never uses that move. But the only reason why he's doing this move is because when you execute a pump handle, your opponent's rear is kind of in your nether regions, and Edge looks down and he realizes that, and he just, again, to your point, makes some very lewd gestures.
He goes to town.
Yeah, Edge really thrived in this environment. But right after that DDT, Edge looks up, he looks at Beulah, and Beulah has the most terrified look on her face because she realizes the position that she's in. Edge mows her down with a spear and does the most provocative pin in the history of pinfalls and pins Beulah. Edge, Foley, and Lita get the win. I don't give a fuck. 5 stars. This match was absolutely phenomenal.
I don't know if I can go that far.
One of my favorite ECW matches of all time.
I don't know if I can go that far, man. I really love this match. Did the women need to be involved? I don't know. I really don't know. It felt very, like, tacked on, just so they could get that moment with Edge. Which, honestly, it adds to his gimmick, because he's the rated R superstar. I would have preferred this to have been announced in advance, rather than just, like, a last-minute addition. But regardless, it's...
Maybe it was a way so Funk or Dreamer didn't have to get pinned, but then again, I think Dreamer has taken more pins than he's actually had matches in his life.
Oh, well, let Terry Funk get pinned. Let Terry Funk get pinned.
See, I don't know the backstory on any of this. That's the only thing I can think of, but I love this match. I remember watching
it's phenomenal.
And loving it, and here just all of those feelings came back, and just the aftermath of this match is so horrifying because Funk is laying in that plywood with barbed wire and they can't get him out. Dreamer is checking on Beulah, but at the same time he wants to check on his friend on his friend Terry. And everybody around ringside, does anybody have any bolt cutters? Does anybody have any scissors? Like, we need to get him out. And Funk is just screaming, cut me out of here. Cut me out of here for the love of God.
Cut me out of here. Cut me out of here. Cactus.
That's what ECW is.
Cactus, I think you need to start the match on top of the cell.
And it's just the definition. It just shows that with ECW, there's not always a happy ending.
No. And I apologize for that horrible Terry Funk impression. That's another one I'm working on. But anyway,
I rather would have preferred if he was Chainsaw Charlie.
You son of a bitch. If it was Chainsaw Charlie, you wouldn't have rated this shit 5 stars. Which, by the way, I'm probably going to give it 4.25. That's fine if you want to give it 5. I don't know if I can give it the full 5. Because it's certainly very chaotic and it embodies the spirit of ECW. But again, it just felt like that addition to make it the 6-person tag was very tacked on. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, again, I feel like that addition was added on just so Edge could do that disgusting pin at the end.
But at the same time, I thought you were going to say the pump handle spot, Mike. But then again, like Beulah and Lita could have gotten involved and nothing would have stopped it.
No. But then
I was cool with it because I did like seeing the ladies get involved. And Beulah, she is ECW Miss Elizabeth. So I'm never going to complain about seeing her. Never.
But yeah, no, easily the one thing you should go out of your way to see on this show, if nothing else. But up next, we have what's actually known as the cooldown match. Even though on paper it doesn't sound like a cooldown match under Extreme Rules, it is Balls Mahoney versus Masato Tanaka. Tomas, would you be intimidated by a man whose first name was Balls?
But he is a chair-swinging freak, so yes.
You'd be intimidated by a man named Balls?
And the most disappointing thing about this is that Big Balls by AC/DC is completely dubbed over, and that makes me very sad.
Blasphemy. Absolute blasphemy.
I mean, it's not as it doesn't bring my blood to a boil as much as it does them censoring Enter Sandman by Metallica whenever Sandman comes out, but it's up there. It is up there.
Sandman did not have Enter Sandman in 2006. That was long gone.
Nope.
But
they had
Balls...
a shitty dubbed over version. How he managed to still stay over in WWE is pretty crazy.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Probably because he entered through the crowd Shield style, and they probably all wanted beers.
There was a story where he got into it with Ricky Steamboat on a plane, and John Cena came to his defense, and he said, "Cool it, Hack. I got this."
Yeah.
Cena calling Sandman Hack is awesome.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, I mean, he was Hack in WCW for a bit.
Why would the fact that that's the first thing Cena wants to call him?
Hey, Tomas.
Cool it, Hack. I got this.
What, would you be intimidated by a man named Hack?
No.
Exactly.
You're That's why sit here and tell me that Balls Mahoney versus Masato Tanaka is a cooldown match. That should be illegal.
It is a cooldown match because think about it. You have the insane Terry Funk McFoley hardcore chaos match. Then you have the WWE title match right after this. This is Masato Tanaka. Again, Masato Tanaka, smart man, not signing with WWE to join the ECW revival. Balls Mahoney signed on the dotted line to be a part of this brand. So who the fuck in the world thought that Tanaka was going over Balls here?
And they got 5 minutes.
Yeah, this did not hold a candle to Masato Tanaka's match the previous year with Mike Awesome. Like, that, this match made that one look like WrestleMania 19 by comparison. It's this only 5 minutes. It wasn't really much of a match. There was the fun balls punch sequence where the crowd chants, balls, 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 balls. Admittedly, for somebody who was in the crowd as a kid for an ECW taping before SmackDown and Balls Mahoney was on that show, that was a very fun chant, I will admit.
Now, here's the thing. Yes, Balls Mahoney's whole gimmick is his name is Balls. In ECW, it works, considering the nature of ECW. But when you put Balls Mahoney in a Vince McMahon product where he has the humor of a 4-year-old, and the whole gimmick becomes his name is Balls, and we're going to make jokes about balls, and we're going to say this about balls, and that about balls. It's like, you're missing the point. Yes, the gimmick is funny that his name is Balls, but his name is Balls is because he's a badass.
Yeah.
Not because, we're going to make testicle jokes every 3 seconds.
Well,
it's why his theme song was Big Balls. Like, that got the joke across.
Andrew Martin would not join the ECW brand until like November or December. So let's hold off on the testicles joke right now. Let's hold off on the testicles joke. But anyway, there's a chair duel again, not really much happening, but there is a fucking annihilation of a chair shot by Balls Mahoney to Masato Tanaka right in the fucking head. And that puts him out like a light, just like Hangman Page put Swerve Strickland out like a light back in September. He gets a 3 count after 5 minutes. I'll go.
That shouldn't have been the finish.
I'll
Should
go.
have kicked out of that.
I'll go. You fucking asshole! Should have kicked out of the chair shot. No, absolutely not. That was a knockout blow. I'm gonna go 1.5 stars. I don't know. I mean, it was a match. It existed.
I mean, you give Mahoney and Tanaka 5 minutes. What else did you expect from these guys? I would love to see these guys go at it for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
great.
I would have loved to have seen tables. I would have loved to have seen blood. Like, really go fucking all out with it, just like he did with Mike Awesome last year.
I would have loved to see Tanaka do a suicide dive and a power bomb and all of his usual moves, but
dude, a power bomb on Balls Mahoney with Masato Tanaka being the size that he was, that would have been fucking impressive. Like, that would have gotten Masato Tanaka so over. But
and Tanaka, what a diamond in the rough he was. I've only got to see him wrestle in ECW, but he's a guy that deserves a lot more credit than he's given.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this was more about putting over the new ECW regular on WWE programming in balls. Again, Masato Tanaka, a very smart man, not signing a contract with WWE because he probably knew the shit show it was going to be. He was right. But yeah, again, not much of a match, but... Damn,
Tanaka still wrestles.
He does? Really? I didn't know that.
He wrestled as recently as 2023.
No fucking way.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, he's 51 years old and he looks in great shape, so if he can still go, he can still go.
Fucking go for it, man. Former ECW world champion? Yeah. Fuck it. Why not? Wait a minute. Hold on. You can't introduce this main event just yet.
Nope.
You cannot. Because before John Cena RVD's music ever hits, poor Eugene is sent out to the guillotine in this ECW Hammerstein ballroom. And
you want to talk about leading a lamb to slaughter? This is that.
You were talking about Kurt Angle's fall from grace. You want to talk about Eugene's fall from grace? Remember how fucking over he was at this point 2 years ago in the retro? Not so much anymore. He's out there basically to be a joke fodder for the Sandman. He's going out there talking about how he wants to hug every single ECW fan out there, and they're telling him... Oh, well, I mean, I wonder where he got his practice from. Was it from Heidenreich? Did he learn a thing or two from the Disaster Pieces, even though they weren't on the same show?
Was Vince not thinking, because he sent Eugene out there to say, my Uncle Eric once told me I'm as smart as an ECW fan. Like, oh...
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Eugene wondered if they were saying boo or you for Eugene. You remember Dave Reckoning 2, the really creepy chants that we got whenever you played as Eugene? You got Eugene. It sounded like a freaking droid in the crowd.
Yeah. I just poor Eugene.
Poor Eugene
went out there. And there was a point I was going to make, and I totally forgot. But yeah, poor Eugene.
Yeah.
I know what I was going to say. What are you talking about? Eugene was thriving in this environment.
He was not. Yeah, he was talking about wanting to hug the crowd, who then in turn told him to shut the fuck up. And then Eugene looks at him, and he's like, why? Why?
I forgot what his poem even said, but he was just saying how much he loved all the ECW wrestlers. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this was very entertaining just to watch him just get the shit booed out of him.
I mean, in a vacuum, it's a fun way to pop the crowd, because before he finishes the poem, out comes the Sandman. He has I almost said he had a Singapore cane in his mouth. He has a cigarette in his mouth, of course.
Could you imagine Sandman? Oh, no. Sandman has a Singapore cane in his mouth and he swings a cigarette around. Actually, that is dangerous. He would burn someone with that.
WWE did have like a sponsoring partnership with 7-Eleven at the time, and 7-Eleven has a big wall of cigarettes behind them. Could you imagine?
All of them.
Could you imagine a pack of? Could you imagine a pack of Sandmans and they're actually like wrapped in Singapore cane looking paper?
No, I want WWE to show an advertisement for like "Say No to Big Tobacco" that campaign, but I just want that logo with that zoomed in shot of Sandman with the cigarette.
and then the back of the box says "Exit life, enter light."
God.
That's the slogan. That's the selling slogan right there.
I hate you so much.
Anyway, Sandman beats.
But would you enter Sandman?
I mean, like, I wouldn't let Sandman in my house, but I mean, or what?
Oh, I get why he's called the Sandman now, because he knocks you out and puts you to sleep like the Sandman.
Yes. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. You know, he doesn't walk out, you know, with, he doesn't have a big beach to walk on as part of his entrance. He doesn't walk on sand. You know, he actually knocks you out like the Sandman, right?
His name's not Flint Marco.
He's not a Spider-Man villain, no. I mean, even though we would get Spider-Man 3 the next year, you would think that the Sandman would be one of the most over heels in WWE. You would think they would want to capitalize on that, but no.
He's not a man made out of sand.
He is not, as a matter of fact. So,
and you know what? I've heard people say it before. Oh, Sandman's just a knockoff Stone Cold Steve Austin. Fuck you. Sandman's awesome.
Sandman was awesome. Eugene wants a hug from this man, unfortunately, and Sandman just waylays at him with the Singapore cane. Yeah, the crowd loves them a bit of the Sandman. It's a fun way to pop the crowd.
Chases Eugene out of the arena while swinging the cane at him. Poor Eugene.
Poor Sandman. Poor Sandman. Remember when he main evented One Night Stand last year? Had one of the greatest entrances of all time. Yeah. Doesn't even have a match on this show.
I will give Sandman credit for this. He actually did. He made the most out of his WWE run. He didn't do a lot, but he made the most out of it. I mean, dude started doing a Swanton bomb during his matches on Raw. So give him credit for at least trying. And I feel like everybody else in ECW gave up.
That man was in the best shape of his life while he was in WWE. I don't care what you say. I haven't seen his Dark Side of the Ring episode, so I don't know a whole lot of details about what actually went on backstage in 2007 for him. But he was lean. He was leaner than he had ever looked. You know, because when original ECW, like, I hate to say it, Sandman was drinking like 10 beers on his way down to the ring. So he had the belly, he has the girth, he's a big dude. But WWE comes around and he's probably limited to 1 beer per entrance, which, you know, theoretically, you don't drink as much, you get leaner. Yeah, that's just the name of it, you know. So. Anyway,
and for the Sandman, he's not wrestling anymore, but he did make an appearance 3 years ago in ICW.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, I remember that. Man. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he actually came out to, imagine being a kid and being like, Mommy, I want to watch ECW One Night Stand. And you're at the ICW show for much cheaper. And they're like, nope, we got ECW One Night Stand at home. Right there. You know, at entrance.
You want Stone Cold Steve Austin? We have Stone Cold Steve Austin at home. Stone Cold Steve Austin at home.
Yeah. Anyway, you want to dig into this? This is probably the thing that's remembered the most about this show right here. This main event.
About this main event. If you would have told me this is the main event to an ECW pay-per-view, I'd say you're crazy. RVD cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase against John Cena for the WWE Championship. So, like I just said, RVD is one of 2 men in history. Excuse me. My bad. He's one of 2 men in history to call his shot with the Money in the Bank briefcase. He came out on an episode of Raw, and he went up to Cena and said, I'm cashing in Money in the Bank, and I'm doing it on my home field advantage, ECW One Night Stand. In the build to this match, he told Cena, you don't understand what you're walking into. You're going to walk into the Hammerstein Ballroom with a bunch of bloodthirsty ECW fans that want nothing to do with you. And that was an understatement of what hell Cena was walking into.
Understatement of the decade. the most memorable sign that was in the crowd that is still replicated, but you can't really ever duplicate the original. If Cena wins, we riot. And as a fan, as a little boy who was so into John Cena at the time, I was very naive. I didn't know what the word riot meant. So I saw that sign and I was like, are they going to celebrate when John Cena beats Rob Van Dam? You know?
You're probably one of those people that thought the crowd was chanting "You for Eugene."
No, I really wasn't.
So RVD makes his way to the ring, and he is a hero.
Fucking
a hero's welcome for RVD.
Great ovation for Van Dam. Oh my god.
I mean, can't come out to his was it Slayer he came out to in ECW?
Pantera,
yeah. Can't come out to his Pantera, but
can't walk out to Pantera. See what I did there?
Yeah. Yeah. But
anyway, sorry.
Could you imagine Seth Rollins in the ECW arena? Anywho. Very over.
Well, then hold on. Then he would be Seth fucking Rollins in ECW. Then he would be called Seth fucking Rollins. But
hey, can we wrap this up? I gotta go watch Monday Night Titties. Anywho, RVD, heroes welcome. Everybody wants to see him win the championship, but then John Cena's music hits. And this is, you know what? You can talk about his Mania 25 entrance with the Cena clones, his 26 entrance with the military, the 22 entrance with the Chicago Gangsters. You can keep all of that. This is the greatest John Cena entrance of all time because Cena comes out, he looks around, he holds the title above his head, and he makes his way down the aisle.
Marches.
So many middle fingers in his face. So many thumbs down. Fans in his face.
And the hard-working Marine John Cena that he is holds the title up, keeps his head down. He's ready to go to work.
He was going to the prison yard. And my cousin said something that now I want. When I talked about that match, he goes, I want a blown-up poster of Cena making his way through that aisle with all those middle fingers in his face. And I want to frame that shit and put it in my room.
Get Cena to sign it. Cena to sign it.
I want that shit too, because that is the greatest entrance. It embodies everything that John Cena was in his career. And Cena goes into the ring, and he takes his shirt off like he always does. He throws it into the crowd, and the fans throw it right back.
Yeah, I will never forget that. Never forget
the shirt
that.
Again, throws it into the crowd, and they throw it right back at him.
And Tazz with a great comment. He's like, good throw.
So one more time, Cena takes the shirt, and he throws it really far into the crowd. And a fan grabs it, and everyone around him is saying, no, fuck that shit. Throw it back. And this part right here, it was shown clear as day. A fan snatches the shirt from the other fan, balls it up, spits into it several times, throws it back at Cena, and flips him off.
Yeah, meanwhile, Joey Styles says, I know that guy.
But you could have swore that fan was a plant because the camera was fixed so perfectly that you saw that fan just take the shirt and go, throw it back at Cena, flip him off. I'm like, oh my God, these fools want Cena dead.
And meanwhile, there is a barrage of toilet paper thrown at John Cena. And I had never seen that before. I didn't know it was like some sort of ritual for somebody that the Hammerstein Ballroom absolutely hated. Something that
Ricochet should be honored.
Yeah.
That he got the toilet paper treatment in Hammerstein.
Yeah, absolutely. Only two people really have gotten the toilet paper treatment in the Hammerstein Ballroom. John Cena here, and one of the most iconic crowd reactions of all time. And now Ricochet. I'm winning, baby! That's probably what he said to that. Why is he fucking ugly? Really one of the most memorable ring introductions and pre-matches I think I've ever seen in my life. I will never forget it. And, it's just one of those things as a wrestling fan that just lives rent-free in your head. It really is.
I just think about how traumatized I was as a kid. Just watching this entrance and me going like, they really don't like John Cena.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I was watching at home, because if I was at that arena, I'd be like, am I going to get jumped? Are they going to beat up a 12-year-old for liking Cena?
The
You
bell
gotta
then.
admit, there had to have been at least one person in that crowd that was like, I think John Cena's pretty cool.
You got to admit, though, John Cena wrestled this match in this hostile environment like like the rent was due. Like the rent on his mansion in Tampa, Florida was due all of a sudden. Because this guy, I mean, we've had things to say about his like initial run as the WWE champion, how his matches haven't really reached that pinnacle just yet. Dare we say this is Cena's best match so far? Or I mean,
very good because
it's a very good match. Very good match. I honestly nowadays I don't think I would put his match against Hunter at Mania over this. One-on-one wise, I do think the Mania match was better. I think this match is just more memorable because of the absolute hostile crowd environment. And we thought it was bad in Chicago against Hunter, but little did we know what was coming in June. Like,
Cena just very looked like deer in the headlights for a moment because you cannot tell me that when he threw his ring into the crowd and it was thrown back at him that he was expecting that.
No.
He was very used to like, no, all the fans love me. So I feel like that whole thing was not scripted. And honestly, I look back at it and I kind of cringe for Cena because after the second time, it's like, dude, take the hint. They don't want your shirt.
Nope. They're not buying your shirt. That's probably in the merch stand at One Night Stand Live. I can only imagine.
That Cena shirt, one of the most iconic Cena shirts of all time. Out of all
honestly,
the Cena shirts, I love that Hustle, Loyalty, Respect shirt.
It's not my favorite, honestly. You know, like I feel like WWE shops merch, like especially for their top guys, a lot of it looked very similar. Like you put this shirt next to Edge's Rated R Superstar logo shirt, like I can I feel like that's the same like sort of blueprint or prototype if we're going to use John Cena terms for the shirt.
Yeah, that's fair. Just be careful who you say that around because I've heard Adam is really on edge right now.
It's really hard for me to cope with that, but
damn it, different joke.
So the bell rings, right? And Cena is wrestling like his rent is due, as I've mentioned. And the crowd still fucking hates him. And like they're chanting Cena swallows at him. They're chanting you suck dick. They're chanting you can't wrestle, fuck you, Cena. Oh my god. Yeah, that's why this stream is rated TVMA on Peacock because those chants are not bleeped out. They are not.
Good.
Good. Cena going for clotheslines in the ring. RVD is on defense for a lot of this. And I really like how this match was put together because I'm sure Cena and Van Dam were both very aware how this crowd was going to react. And Cena was on offense for a good chunk of this. Van Dam was the underdog fighting from underneath.
It's the closest Cena's worked to a heel style. My only issue with Cena's psychology in this match is that there were points in this match where he was getting his ass handed to him by RVD using steel chairs, steel steps, all using his environment. And I was like, you know what, Cena? Look at the environment you in. If you want to retain your championship, start fucking fighting back. Grab a steel chair. Grab a kendo stick. Get some thumbtacks. Like, you're not going to win this match just wrestling the same way you always do.
Which the crowd responds in kind because Cena's hitting his typical clotheslines that he starts with, and they're chanting same old shit.
Even as a kid, that frustrated me. I was like, come on, Cena. Like, these fans don't like you. You need to just take a chair and just beat the shit out of RVD.
Which they do introduce a steel chair. Van Dam, hits him with a vicious-looking Van Terminator as Cena's just sitting prone in the corner. Rolling Thunder on the steel chair. Gets a nice near fall. DDT on the steel chair. Cena with a slingshot into the chair that's wedged in between the top and middle ropes, which I always love. Again, that's a satisfying video game spot if I ever saw one. Wedging the chair in the corner and then hucking your opponent into it. It's a lot of fun.
Very Day of Reckoning, which is a good game.
It's a great game. Cena's kind of leaning into these chants at this point in the match as the fans are chanting asshole at him and he's just throwing these up. Yeah. He's smiling the biggest shit-eating Cena grin that I've seen since his heel days.
It sucks. We never got to see John Cena achieve this level of being a heel again.
No,
because you see how smart he is now in the business. I'd like to see him. Of course, don't do it during this retirement run. It's a little too late, but I don't know. It would have been nice. It would have been nice just for do a Shawn Michaels heel run 1 month.
Yeah.
Feud against the biggest babyface in the company and put him over, and you can be heel for 1 month, 30 days.
That's it. Cena then locks on the STF. Van Dam then reaches the ropes, even though it's an Extreme Rules match, so rope breaks shouldn't be a thing. The ECW.
He locked in to shut the fuck up?
Yeah, he locked in to shut the fuck up. And then the referee, the ECW referee, then jumps on Cena to break the hold. You cannot tell me that John Finnegan was a biased referee towards RVD. Because this is an Extreme Rules contest, right? So rope breaks should not be a thing.
And then my favorite part of that, yeah, absolutely. And then my favorite after that spot is that he starts arguing with Cena, and Cena shoves him, and the ref shoves back, and then Cena just fucking takes his head off with a clothesline. And my favorite part after that is that the referee, he does that, and then Cena gets in his face. They start arguing. Cena shoves the ref, and the ref shoves back, and then Cena just takes his fucking head off with a clothesline.
Oh,
like,
my God.
That's one of the stiffest Cena clotheslines I've ever seen.
That's the most heel John Cena move I've seen in quite some time. Like, because imagine if Cody Rhodes hit that clothesline nowadays. He would have Yeah, I'm sorry. I hit you with the clothesline.
You just made me so mad.
We gotta finish this.
That'll happen when we get the AEW crossover and he wrestles Kenny Omega. That pay-per-view will be happening on the 12th of Never.
The 12th of Never. Steel steps are brought into the ring, nails Van Dam right in the head with them, and then outruns fucking Nick Patrick, crooked WWE official. Cena then puts Van Dam on his shoulder, sends him over the top rope with the attitude adjustment. Cena then there's a table set up in the corner of the ring, right? At this point. I don't know why Cena didn't go for a cover while Nick Patrick was in there. Like, you know, to really, really lean into the heel persona. That's the only thing I feel like that was missing, was a Nick Patrick near fall. And then Nick Patrick putting his hands up in the air and being like, I'm sorry, John. 1, 2, 3,
come on, get out of the rope. Get out of the ropes. You gotta get out of the ropes right now.
Nick Patrick was so entertaining to watch.
He was.
So Cena's in the ring all by himself, and somebody, like just completely out of nowhere, runs in there with a trench coat and a motorcycle helmet. Bam! Spears Cena through the table. And
so, when I was watching this pay-per-view live and that happened, my brother yells out, "Holy crap, it's Darth Vader!" This isn't some low-budget
fucking Darth Vader. Fucking Darth Vader. It's Finn Balor wearing Darth Vader makeup, right?
Easy.
Finn Balor wearing an entire Epcot globe on his head, right?
Me being the dumb kid that I am, this happens and I go, who could that be? And I'm watching it as an adult, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Because the man takes off the motorcycle helmet, and it's Edge.
Well, he had blonde peeking out underneath the helmet. I knew it was Edge. Even I knew it was Edge as a kid.
And people are probably wondering, why would Edge interfere in this match? It really has nothing to do with him. It does, because on Raw, Edge won a number one contenders match, and he is the number one contender to the WWE title now. And the storyline, the way I look at it as, he knows he can't beat Cena, and he can't stand Cena. So he looks at RVD as more easy pickings. But the ECW crowd doesn't care, because after the spear, the fans start chanting, "Thank you, Edge."
Yeah, they do. Like I said, Edge became the biggest babyface in the Hammerstein Ballroom after that moment, which is so ironic. It's so ironic.
Y'all don't understand how I think it was this night, either this or New Year's Revolution, where Edge became public enemy number one in my life. For the next 5 years, there was not another wrestler I couldn't stand more than Edge.
Edge is one of my all-time favorites. Top 5 for me. Like, just the trajectory of his career. Yeah, no, I didn't really respect him as much, like, as a kid, as much as I probably should have. I love me a good villain, and Edge was the epitome of a great villain growing up.
And I can't wait to share the story of what happened after this match, me and my poor 12-year-old self. I've only cried at the result of 2 wrestling matches. The first one was Armageddon 2002, when Shawn Michaels lost the World Heavyweight title. The second one, it was this match.
So Van Dam climbs up to the top rope, hits the biggest 5-star frog splash he's ever going to hit, otherwise known as a Meltzer frog splash. He then... I was waiting for that reaction.
What, some old dude on the internet?
Right,
Some
yeah,
old
exactly.
Dude on the internet, Frog Splash?
Yeah, I'll give it 2 stars. But anyway, so Van Dam.
That's Chris laughs Frog Splash.
Yes, so Van Dam then tries to revive. He tries to revive the referee, right? And then little does he realize he's trying to revive the crooked SmackDown official that Edge had knocked out. So out runs the mad genius Paul Heyman. He's yelling out at Van Dam. He's like, Rob! He could pin him! And then Paul Heyman, being the commissioner, has the authority to count 1, 2, 3. And the crowd pops like mad. Tazz is like, all right, I'll take it. Van Dam...
You know what? As a kid, and I saw that, I wasn't even mad because Paul Heyman's the owner of the company. Why can't he be the referee? He should have to wear all the hats in the company. And if worse comes to worse, you need a ref, sure, why not? So I never looked at that as, that doesn't make sense.
Well, Joey Styles yells out, well, you're out of damn referees. Of course it's going to happen, you know? So Rob Van Dam, for so long on this retro, has always been the guy... Van Dam, if to me at least, the epitome of always the bridesmaid but never the bride. He was a guy who had gotten so close for so many years and was just never given the big one. I thought Unforgiven 2002 was his moment, but Hunter buried him 6 feet deep. Never really got anywhere close to a world title after that. He did get accolades throughout his career. Mid-card titles, tag team titles. Never got the big one. Until he won Money in the Bank, I was like, Van Dam could actually fucking do this. He could fucking be a world champion, you know? But this moment right here, there was no other place to do it other than this show. No other place. Especially after he had missed the inaugural ECW One Night Stand with a torn ACL, torn meniscus. He could only cut a promo, couldn't really get physical all that much. Didn't have a match, even though it was his brainchild. What a fucking moment. This is the peak of RVD right here.
Winning the WWE Championship is such an iconic moment because it is the culmination of all of his hard work in WWE. And the whole ECW roster comes out to celebrate with him. They hoist him up on his shoulders. That image right there of RVD holding up the WWE Championship should have been just the poster child of a new era. But unfortunately, after Vengeance, it's all going to go downhill for RVD. We will talk about that on the Vengeance pod.
Yep.
But it was so cool. And then after this, on the first episode of ECW One Sci-Fi, because RVD is the WWE Champion, he also becomes the ECW Champion. And he, to this day, is the only man to hold the WWE and the ECW championships at the same time. RVD's on the top of the world now, and he should have on top of the world for like 6 months. It's just a damn shame things went the way they did.
It really is. A part of me also thinks it's partly Van Dam's own fault. This is his own wrongdoing.
We will get into that on the Vengeance pod, but little old 12-year-old me was so upset at the results of this match. I went into my room, and what I did as a kid, I always have a WWE calendar. Hell, I have a WWE calendar this year. And at the end of every year, I would cut out the photos of my favorite wrestlers, usually the baby faces, and I would hang them on my wall. I had a picture of RVD on my wall, and I climbed up on my bed. I grabbed that photo, and I tore it in half.
Oh, my God.
I was mainly mad at Edge, but still, I was mad at RVD for winning the WWE Championship. And I remember just yelling, screw Edge.
I
was so mad.
Even though RVD kind of deserved winning the WWE Championship at this point.
Hey, I was 12. Cena was my favorite. I didn't care. I was mad that Cena lost the title.
I mean, I was sad. I was sad, but then again, I was like, okay. I mean, RVD's the guy now. You know, like a guy who's kind of deserved a world title run for a really long time, and they're finally giving it to him. It's not going to last for very long. Both reigns. Like, don't get used to RVD as the champion. Like, that's all I'm saying here. It's not, this is, like I said, it's the peak of RVD's WWE stint, and it very rapid decline for this man. But as a moment, it's one of the best title changes, I think, of the 2000s, of the Ruthless Aggression era. One of the best WWE title changes, at least. This crowd loved him a bit of Van Dam. He was portrayed like a folk hero. His arms outstretched to the ECW fans. He wants to hug every single one of them, just like Eddie Guerrero did in San Francisco. Crazy ass moment, crazy ass like atmosphere for this thing. How do I fucking rate this?
4.5. It was a really good match and a really good story, and the environment just led into a wonderful moment.
I don't know if
for ECW, but for RVD as well.
I don't know if I like the match that much. Fuck, dude. Because John Cena really was not at that like level yet in terms of phenomenal matches. His match against Hunter at WrestleMania, I thought was great, and this match I thought was a little bit lesser than. The best I can do is 4 stars. I think. It's still really good, if not just for the wrestling. The atmosphere really propelled this over the top. It's one of the most memorable crowd reactions, I think, ever to any wrestling match, to any main event, to any WWE title match. And I think for that reason, and for that reason and so much more, ECW One Night Stand 2006 is one of the most memorable shows that we will go through in this timeline. I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really, really solid show. It doesn't hold a candle to the original One Night Stand. Doesn't really capture the epitome of what ECW was because you have the WWE invasion going on. But still really fun to go through this.
Yeah, definitely one of the most memorable pay-per-views I remember watching live as a kid. Because I didn't look at it as ordering a WWE pay-per-view. I was looking at it as ordering an ECW pay-per-view, which was very different and very new for me. And I liked what I saw, even at 12 years old. And it's good that we got this One Night Stand because it's just going to go really downhill for this ECW revival really fast. I don't think Vince McMahon truly understood what ECW was, even though he had Paul Heyman booking the show. Even though Paul Heyman had the book, Vince McMahon still very much had final say on who went over and who was going to get TV time. And it gets very frustrating very fast. And this isn't the last ECW pay-per-view we're going to look at. ECW gets their own pay-per-view at the end of the year. And it's a fucking dumpster fire.
Let's just say as a precursor, Tomas and I, not too long ago, talked about a little show called Armageddon 2004. This ECW show that we're going to talk about is going to make Armageddon 2004 look like WrestleMania 17 by comparison. It's
it's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Yeah. At least Armageddon 04 had Randy Orton and The Undertaker.
No, I'm thinking of the 4-way. JBL, Booker, Eddie, and Taker. That show.
Oh, yeah, okay. Both Armageddons were really bad.
That show. I mean, I don't know about that, man. Armageddon 2005 was a huge step up from 04, but yeah. ECW December to Dismember, that show, yeah, we got that down the pipeline somewhere. Vengeance 2006 is next on the retro with the return of one D-Generation X, which should be a fun little discussion.
Will not be waiting as long for that retro as you did this one. We're kind of back on track now.
yeah. No, we have a plan to get back on track. We're still.
Don't worry, we have WWE Saturday Night Main Event coming up this weekend. We have the Royal Rumble coming up to follow, which I'm so excited for. We have AEW still on the horizon. We were going to look at Grand Slam, but that went from being a pay-per-view to being a TV special that's going to air like at midnight.
Yeah.
AEW. AEW.
Yeah. All because the NBA All-Star game is going on that same day, right?
And they couldn't sell enough tickets to fill a stadium.
Nope. I wonder why.
Product.
So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Tap on that thumbs up as well if you enjoyed this podcast. Lots of wrestling discussion to follow. And I can't wait to have you guys along for it. We're on the march still to 2,000. We're very, very close. And on the march to 3,000 and beyond after that. So yeah, thank you again so much for your continued support. Commence that back talk. Talk to you guys soon.